Our second speaker this evening is a senior software engineer at Nitro, a firm that is reinventing document productivity.
Trying really hard.
Trying really hard. Prior to that, he worked at IBM on their big SQL product and has a lot of software experience, software development experience, I should say. You may know him as one of the co-organizers of the C++ and C Dublin user group. I'm sure you all recognize him as one of the previous speakers. He's probably spoken at more of these events than a lot of us have been to. So a very prominent member of the C++ community in Dublin and across Europe. I also understand he has a huge interest in developing large-scale applications for big data processing, and there's clearly no doubting his passion for technology. So, without further ado, I give you Mihai Todor.
Thank you. So when you're going to give a talk, this is the kind of introduction you're going to get. So yeah, hello everyone. My name is Mihai, as you probably know. And I'm one of the co-organizers of the C++ Dublin user group. And we've been running this group for like 3 years now. And I haven't done a talk here in maybe, I don't know, 2 years. I try to do talks at other meetups like the R meetup or the PyLadies, R Ladies, Python meetups, etc. Anyway, and thank you very much for answering our call for speakers. I have tried in the past to ask you for people who would like to volunteer, and I got some, like very few. But now I had the idea to just ask you directly when you RSVP to the meetup, and this has worked very well. So now I have like, I don't know, 5 or 6 speakers volunteering, and that's just great. You can start having another round of talks every month, which is going to be perfect. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the next year of meetups. This is the last meetup of this year, so yeah. In the meantime, I have a few small updates. So one of them is that I have been sent by Nitro to the wine conference in Poland, in Wrocław. And this has been a very interesting experience. Not sure why you're laughing. It's a cool project, really. Like, so the people there are hardcore hackers. Like those guys have more than 10 years of experience on the project. It all started, I think, in 93 or something, so before Windows 95. And wine stands for wine is not an emulator. And what this means is that they just have a certain application running under Linux, which translates native Windows calls to Linux calls. So they just do the heavy lifting and the plumbing behind the scenes for you. Like, for example, registry access, file I/O, file path conversions, all those things are done by Wine. So then you can literally take Windows applications and run them under Linux. I don't know, I've seen demos of very crazy stuff. Like people are doing all sorts of gaming now using Wine. Like you can run Diablo, you can run Call of Duty, all this stuff. And because the project is going so well, they have something called Project Hangover. And what Project Hangover is, well, basically they will have to get the main maintainer, Andre Juliard, very, very drunk to get it committed. Basically, they have ARM CPUs in tablets. Like, let's say you have a, I don't know, iPad or something, and you want to run on the iPad some Windows application. And the problem is that it's a different architecture, so you can't just run the code natively. And they basically use QEMU to run the stuff that needs to be, I don't know, registry access and all the Windows-specific stuff that would be running QEMU, and stuff that can be delegated to native libraries like rendering and such that would be run natively. So I've seen some 3D demos at the conference that was really impressive, just running on a tablet. And also SX is planning to remove 32-bit support, so that would be a big problem for them because that's the main revenue stream. They have something like a proprietary software called Crossover Linux, and it's a simple app. It just lets them wrap Wine in a nice UI framework, so end users can just like start Wine on the Mac, and they would be able to run Windows applications. Still looks like a Windows application, but a bit better integrated, and you can actually use it. So, because people are dropping x86 support on the Mac, then they would have to do something with QEMU in the middle to get this kind of magic going. And I became the official distributor of the Wine stickers in Ireland, so you can get some from here if you want. Yeah.
Is Wine still contributing to the React OS?
I'm not sure. You would have to ask them. Sorry, I don't know.
You guys are redoing the Windows as an open source.
Yeah, I don't know. But for a bit of background, Nitro is try to run some PDF rendering libraries on Linux, and they are compiled on Windows, run only on Windows, etc., etc. So we're using Wine for it, and it's promising. Like I've cried a bit debugging stuff, but otherwise, it kind of works. Yeah. And then, how many Windows developers are in the house? Let me see. Raise the hands.
Former or present?
Any? Like, come on, don't be shy. There's no shame in it.
We're not alone.
Okay, so we have quite a few. Like, no problem. I'm not going to bore anyone here. No, this is going to be a lighter talk. I'm not going to get into any gory details. Sorry. I don't want to disappoint, but this is going to be a lighter talk. Anyway, let me see. Did that just kill my... Yeah. I was supposed to have a remote desktop here because you can't really run Windows on a Mac. So let's see if this actually works. Okay, it seems to be working. So now I'm in a machine in my office at Nitro. And I guess this would be a very common workflow for some of you. Like you just open Visual Studio, you have some, I don't know, file open here, whatever. And I don't know, you're new in the company and you want to like just explore the code a bit. You're looking for some stuff, I don't know, maybe font processing. So what you would normally do is just, open this menu, which is like searching the whole solution, and you would be looking for something like find font, for example. And just do find all, right? And you get this kind of ugly window here, and it gives you some results. And you can like nicely click on it, and it takes you to the line where the result is, and whatever, like you can see some stuff. You don't get much context. You don't have a lot of control. You do see some options here, like use regular expressions, which can be very handy. As far as I know, it's Windows is the Visual Studio flavor of regular expressions, so you don't get all the nice stuff. But anyway, it kind of works. Other people don't like this so much, so then they would open something like Notepad++, which is a bit lighter, and it has a similar interface. So you just do something like finding files, and you can do, search for font type. Let's just see. And this is very annoying because it doesn't show you real-time results, so you would have to wait for this silly window. Actually cancel it and you see some results already. It's a bit nicer because it doesn't show you the file name on every line, so you just get a little, I'm not sure if you can see this in the back. Is it? Nah, well, anyway, you see the picture. So the thing is you can actually collapse these results here and you can like navigate through them a bit easier. So you also get some nice colors here, so you can see where the result is actually matched on the line. Unlike Visual Studio, where you don't really see that and like clear the results. Here we go. So here you can't really see where it found the match on the line. But anyway, this is kind of what it looks like, and it's somewhat handy. Still not as nice as it could be. So let's see. Can we do better? So who here has used any other tools besides this?
Everyone.
Great. That's the crowd I was looking for. So we have many other tools for searching code, right? So there's two types of them. There's indexed search and there's non-indexed search. And this talk is going to focus mostly on non-indexed search. I don't really care right now about super big code bases where it would take you 2 hours to grab through the whole code. That's, for that you have to use something like GitHub or search code, grab code, or you can go old school and use C tags. IBM had the software, they have the database software called DB2, and they have all the thing indexed using C tags, and you can like just quickly search through the code. It's not great though. For example, you wouldn't be able to do really creative regular expressions because it's just index stuff. So if you are outside of the index, good luck. Or also if you change the code and you have to rebuild the whole index, that's not fun. But anyway, it does have advantages. Like for example, in Visual Studio, if you have the index created, you can do find all references, and then it shows you all the references of, I don't know, for example, all the call places of a function and things like that. Yeah, okay. Yeah, some of them. Then you have GitHub, and GitHub search really sucks. Like you probably know it. It's super annoying. It shows you a lot of duplications, things like that. I've seen grep code, which is kind of interesting. It's a website, so you go to it and it indexes some, ignore the million open tabs. Anyway, it indexes all these projects here, and yeah, you can actually search a bit nicer, I would say. Anyway, but let's not focus on this. Like I said, this talk is going to be about non-index search tools. So the point is, like, if it takes more than a few seconds to search your code, then it's probably a waste of time and you have to use something more advanced. And I'm not a console ninja, so whatever I'm going to do here is going to be like, I'm trying not to mess up too much because I might not know what I'm doing. So the first tool that you would use is grep, because this is available on most of the operating systems. It's been around since Unix was invented. It is console only. It's fast. You also have extensions like git grep, which allow you to like grep through your repository in Git. You can actually search your history of commits, things like that. It's pretty useful. And it's even adopted as a verb or a noun. You can't grep the trees. And an example, well, you have here like one of the syntax that I might use sometimes. So it would be like specifying which extensions you want to use. You have to tell it to search recursively through the tree, because otherwise by default it doesn't. You want to specify that it needs to output the line number, so it finds the matches, current directory, case insensitive, and expression. It could be any regular expression. I just use font. I'm just going to do a very gross copy paste here. Let me see. So I have here the repository of wine. It's pretty big. Well, not so big. It's only 700 megabytes, but still, like browsing it by hand is not feasible. So you have to search it. So you could do something like this, and you get some nice results, like similar to Notepad++ in a way. You see some colors, you see the line numbers, you know, it's real time more or less. It's an improvement over Notepad++, obviously. However, you don't have nice things like double click this line. It doesn't really open the file. I'll have to have some special integration in the shell. I don't know, maybe some Vim hacker here can give me some hints on how to do that, or a Emacs fan. Okay.
It doesn't require a Facebook account.
I love that.
And then actually, you can pipe something to it, like the output of this graph, and it will automatically identify the existing files, and then you can just interactively select them when you're opening to your editor.
Okay, yeah, that's cool. I didn't know. Okay, that's cool. Anyway, this is kind of what grep does, and it's a bit awkward. Like the shortcomings of grep would be that it's single-threaded. Of course, you can work around that. You can use some sort of combination, magic combination between find, exargs, parallel, whatever, and grep, and then you get multi-threaded. And nowadays with SSDs, you can certainly benefit from it. Like if you have a really fast SSD setup, then you can just run multiple instances and it does the work. The implementations are a bit inconsistent. I've seen differences in parameters on OS X and Linux, so sometimes that can be frustrating. It doesn't have non-UTF-8 support, which sometimes is annoying. And of course, the syntax is a bit awkward. Like you have to actually specify the current directory, otherwise it does other things. You have to specify the include paths multiple times. Anyway, not a lot of flexibility there. So can we do it even better? Well, some people got annoyed with grep and they built something called ACK, and it was hosted initially on betterthangrep.com, and now it's called beyondgrep.com. But ACK is not something I have played with. I have played with the Silver Searcher, not Surfer, Searcher. So this is something written in C, again by somebody who got inspired from grep and ACK, and they built their own tool. It's much more powerful. It uses the PCRE for regular expressions library. And it has many features. Like, for example, it ignores the source code folders, like .git would be ignored. And also, if you have a git ignore file in there and you have some ignore patterns in it, it will pick them up and just ignore those folders from search. And also, the creators of these tools have agreed on a standard for ignore file. So if you have a .ignore file and you specify some patterns in it, all these tools that I'm going to talk about are aware of it, and they parse this file by default, and they ignore those folders from the search. So for example, you have here a command line ag ignore, and can we? Okay, so here I have a very big repo. Let me just zoom in a bit. Oops, sorry. Scrolling is a bit difficult. So this is like 21 gigabytes of code and other crazy things like binary files, because some people have to put binary files in the repo. Anyway, if I do this, I'm just searching for font in here. You can see this is pretty fast, right? So 21 gigabytes in what? I don't know, not even a second. And also, like, it slows down because of the console output. If the output of file is probably even faster. So I really like this. I mean, I learned about this while I started working in Go, because now I'm mostly a Go developer. And I have a colleague who just showed me, hey, use the Silver Searcher, AG. I'm like, what is the Silver Searcher? Well, here you go. It's super fast. You can also do many things with it. Like, for example, let's say I want to search for find font. Well, I have some results here, but they are a bit too many. And in some cases, I don't really know where they come from. Like, I can see it's at line 843 in the code file, but I don't really know much about it. Okay, this is a function. But here it's something like, I don't know, some piece of code that does something. So let's see, can we see a bit more? We can actually do -c here for context. And now I get 2 lines of context above and below the result, which I think is super useful. You can also do, of course. I'm not saying this is better than grep. I'm just saying you can do this. And I'm sure many people aren't aware of it. Also in Visual Studio, you can't do this, which is super annoying. Sorry? You can also do even more advanced. It gives you a lot of flexibility. You can do before, say, 3 lines, and after 2 lines. Sorry if I'm boring anyone with this. Like, I'm sure you might know of it. I find this very useful. Like, for me, it's a lifesaver. And we can do even better than this. We have a tool called ripgrep, and the guy who built this is a bit, in my view, he's a bit arrogant. He's saying that it's faster than anything out there. But indeed, I must say, like, I've tried it, and it looks much faster. Like, even on this big code base, even if you can get under a second results, it does look quite fast. So let's see. That was a bit faster, right? And another thing about these tools is that you can specify many other things. So for example, let's see. Like the help for it is quite extensive. You can do a lot of things, like you can specify custom ignore patterns, case sensitivity. It also supports non-UTF-8 files. I think RG has some magic in it that it allows it to figure out if a file is non-UTF-8, and then you can just go through it also. I don't know, there were many things in here that I could show you, but I don't want to really bore you. I'm sure you can explore the README yourself. And also some people have developed similar tools in Go. So you have Sift and the Platinum Searcher, which is a pun on the Silver Searcher. I've looked at them. They aren't as feature-rich as the Silver Searcher, so I guess that is one of the nicest out there. You can also support multi-line search, which I think is kind of handy. And you also have this list on the ACK website where you get even more tools. Like, there's just tons of them, really. And I'm not sure what's this fascination for people to write searcher tools, but they seem to really like it. So, like, just pick your poison, really. And let's see, what else do I have in here? Well, there are some limitations to these tools, right? They're console only. So if you work on Visual Studio all day long, you don't want to alt tab to the console, type AG something, you get the result, copy paste the result in Visual Studio, open it, and you notice that the path separators are Linux, they're not Windows, so then you have to go and manually tick the path separators, which is, again, super annoying. So then, yeah, what can you do? Like, you really want some UI integration into Visual Studio. So there are multiple things out there. For example, VS Code is a nice IDE tool, very lightweight. It looks like this. I just opened the wine directory in here. And I can just search, I don't know, font. And it turns out that they implemented something that allows them to use the ripgrep under the hood. So this search is basically provided by ripgrep and it's super fast. Of course, it doesn't show you all the nice stuff from the console. You can do -C to see more results, but it's still very nicely integrated. You can get all this, I'm not sure if you can see this. You get all this files collapsed, which I think is handy. Again, you just click on it and it takes you to the file. I haven't played that much with VS Code, but I find it a very nice tool. And it's also open source, which is unlike Microsoft. But they put a lot of effort in this, I think. And, well, you can actually write a Visual Studio extension, right? So I was busy through the weekend to have fun with it. So I wrote this thing. It's a very small thing, very bad code. Like I just put it together in a few days. I just wanted to see how it is like to write an extension for Visual Studio. And what you're going to see here, and I'm not sure if I can zoom into it, probably not. Yeah. Well, anyway, guess I get a bit of zoom. So here I have this kind of searcher tool window, and I can select a specific tool that I like, for example, ripgrep or the silver searcher, or even just grep. And if I can escape. So basically, here I can just specify a certain folder. Let's say, let's just pick the big repo. And let's look at the silver. Let's just look at ripgrep for the sake of it. Find font. And it's giving me the results in here. And also the magic is that I can double click on it and it will open the file at the specified line, which I think is super handy for somebody who really, really wants to use only Visual Studio and they want to benefit from better code search tools. You can actually get context as well. So for example, if I would do the silver searcher, I could do -C and it should work, hopefully. Maybe not. It works. However, I don't get the nice line coloring here. I don't see where the result actually is in this output. And that is because of the weird color codes that this tool uses. For example, if I would do here color, you will see that it's a bit weird, and I will have to actually parse all these color codes.
Yeah, they're using the ANSI.
Yeah, exactly.
I like how it took about 4 times long.
Yeah, of course.
To open up the file than it did to search the entire market.
Of course, of course. Well, normally you could actually specify, use the current solution, so then you don't have to do that extra step there. But yeah, if somebody is nice enough to write a parser in C# for this color codes, I'll be really grateful. I could do it myself, but I'm lazy. And yeah, that's what I wanted to show you. Any questions?
Have you tried Max?
Sorry?
Have you ever tried Max?
Max? No.
Emacs.
Emacs, no. No. I've tried Vim, and I've got quite enough of Vim, so that
Out of box. Out of box, all those tools you showed me.
No,
yeah,
I've
what's
seen
the
it,
one
I haven't
like
really
that?
played with it. I think you can.
That's an old joke. It's not valid anymore.
One of the issues is that they haven't officially support SBC yet, but they're working on it.
Okay, right.
So right now, if you want to use other Windows, you have to set up like clients, let's say.
Yeah. Well, if your code actually compiles with Clang, which it probably doesn't in our case.
If you're in Windows app, yeah, sure.
Anyone else?
I haven't tried myself. Have you tried using the Linux subsystem in Windows and seen it?
But the problem with that is, well, you still get Windows under the hood. So, well, sure, they can emulate everything and they can do the same as Wine does, and it probably works. Yeah, and the only problem with that is still like, imagine the drivers or the networking stack or everything like that, that's still Windows.
Yeah.
So if your tools are, tweaked and adjusted and performance tweaked and whatnot for Linux, then on Windows, they're going to perform like crap, or at least that's my view. No. You can probably do the same, right? It has index search and all those things.
Just for the recording. Thanks.
Oh, he asked about
I'm doing
Visual
it.
Assist.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I haven't tried it. Sorry. What can you do?
It has Visual Assist has better result presentation, but it also does things like find subclasses of this class or
Right.
uses of this function.
Well, that's probably very handy, but imagine you have a solution that is super messy and somebody, over the course of 10 years added 1 million files that are not even included in the solution and they're all over the place. There might be lots of text files, lots of weird files, temp files, whatever. And you still want to search in those just because, you have a reference to something that gets put in the output and you don't know where it comes from. And for that, I will still go to the command line and try that. Anyone else? More questions?
Yeah, if you use Go, then you can use this.
If you use Go, you can use still non-index search with tools like Guru and.
Okay, never tried.
Yeah, if you use, for instance, Vim Go, if you program in Vim and programming Go, then there's the Vim Go extension that gives you a really IDE kind of experience, so you can have all the call sites of a function and things like that. And it's done completely non-indexed.
Well, I've seen that in VS Code, so they will have a nice extension for Go, which is pretty powerful. I haven't used it much, like I'm still stuck in Sublime, and the reason for that is that it's so simple, I don't need anything else.
But you can use like Guru to do more advanced queries, so if you want to find all the places where a certain function is called, and especially if it's called something like find font, for instance, where you can have like find font, whatever, like different functions with this prefix or something, but you still only want to find font, places where you can call the function, then that's very handy.
That's cool. Okay, I might try it out. Thanks. Anyone else? Oh, well, thank you, Dan.